What is going on, guys? I'm in FSD right now, but I wanted to talk to you guys about the Uber partnership with Lucid and Nuro and kind of how I think that is going to play out into the future. I'm Malachi Grip, CEO of Elite Automation, Elite Properties, and an investor in Tesla and other stocks as well. So, uh, this has kind of been big news that was announced last week about basically Uber and Lucid and another company called Nuro partnering up. And I also made another video on this. You can go back and watch that video as well. But the thing that I wanted to kind of discuss on, and things that I've been thinking about since like that last video I shot, because I basically shot it like the day of, like breaking news type of video, and that is that like this partnership is like literally one of the only things that somebody like Uber can do. It's only the only thing somebody like Lucid can do, and also this company Nuro. It's definitively what they were going to do anyway. That was their original business model, would be to partner up with some other company. Actually, their original business model was to have like a little small like delivery vehicle that would do deliveries autonomously. Kind of like a small, like very compact regular vehicle, but not like a traditional vehicle. It'd probably travel slower and stuff like that. So they weren't really planning on doing ever like mass production vehicles for like consumer use. It's more for like delivery type of things. So, honestly, like my stance on the automotive market, ride share, and autonomy is that Tesla is so far ahead of any other company that it's going to take a combination of a few companies together to even potentially catch up, right? And we can compare this with like a company that's already functioning, like Waymo, whereas like Waymo went from equipping their stuff with the Jaguar I-Pace, and then I think they switched over to another Jaguar vehicle, and now I believe they have a partnership with Toyota. So if they have a partnership with Toyota, that's really the play right there. But even Toyota's not like publicly announcing that they're trying to equip Waymo onto their vehicle or anything like that. It's more of Waymo more so probably has a contract with Toyota to buy some of their vehicles, whatever it may be, Toyota Camry, which they should use, like Toyota Corolla, Toyota Camry, some of the highest, like some of the highest selling vehicles, and also some of the most reliable vehicles on the market. Pretty much everybody in the US really looks at like the Toyota as like a vehicle that you can buy and get 300,000 miles out of that vehicle if you take care of it. So they have that like long-term reliability, which is good for overall like cost of ownership of like the vehicle and whatnot, which is a big part of what you have to consider with like something like robotaxi and that being a viable business into the future. And so like with Waymo, again, Waymo's a spin-off or a child company of Google, and so they're backed by Google, which has endless amounts of money. So it's not like Waymo's going to go anywhere. Waymo will own some sort of market share. The thing that's going to become challenging is Waymo will probably be able to compete in price, but the sacrifice to compete in price is margin. AKA meaning just Waymo won't make as much money as like Tesla would, which means then Tesla's going to be able to take that money and re-innovate it into other things. So if you're talking about on a technological level, or not even on a technological level, if you're talking on an investment level, Tesla's going to have like the long-term edge, because they do the manufacturing. They manufacture all the sensor hardware directly in the vehicle, and the vehicles they have, coming off of their manufacturing line, the vehicle that you and I can buy, the vehicles that I own or whatever, all have FSD with the capability to become robo-taxis one day. And if you look at like the cost of one of these cameras, it's probably not even $1,000. It's probably like $500 or something. They're pretty much using the equivalency of like one of the cameras that's in our like smartphones and stuff. So the costs for those cameras are very low cost. So even if there's a repair cost of one of those cameras ever failing, like that cost is going to be very negligible in comparison to if you had like a LiDAR sensor or something that went out. Now, for me, I'm not huge on LiDAR versus vision, right? I think vision has its primary advantage because it is lower cost. I like LiDAR because it is a dimensional measurement. So for me, in my experience in robotics, I've done a lot of stuff with vision. I've done a lot of stuff with lasers. Not necessarily LiDAR, but some of the systems use similar technologies to like LiDAR. Some like the safety laser scanners and stuff like that. And so like the LiDAR type of devices give you like a distinct measurement between like the thing that's right in front of me, right? So I can get a very calculated measurement. And it's like really funny because like, Tesla's pulled back and said we don't need LiDAR at all. And I think that they could probably accomplish it without LiDAR. I don't think LiDAR's a must. I do think that LiDAR could, like, say for instance, if you had this full stack vision approach and then you added LiDAR to it, I think that could be a pretty big deal. I think that it could add a layer of safety, right? And I get like trying to rely on different sensors kind of can confuse the vision system to not operate in the way that it should, right? Because like you're gonna have some gives and takes. Anytime you have sensors, like your give and take may be that like, okay, you increase the safety level, but now you have a bunch of phantom braking, right? Because maybe the LiDAR picks up on something that the camera didn't, or vice versa. So you have like scenarios like that when you start stacking the technologies on top of each other. Now, whenever they can get to a point where, the AI network or the neural net is so intelligent that maybe it can use different sensors instead of just vision only sensors, then it can kind of make like a better decisions based on the two inputs, in real time. Because the other thing you have to compare the two. So if I'm looking at vision data and then I'm looking at LiDAR data, you have to keep cross-checking the two and then make an output of it versus like just looking at the camera data and then outputting from it. So essentially you're gonna have at least another scan cycle to execute on that. But yeah, I don't get too deep into those things. But going back to like surface level and the topic of this video, Lucid kind of has their own self-driving or whatever, which is really kind of funny because if Lucid has their own self-driving and then they're partnering with this Nuro company, I would assume what's happening is Nuro's farther along with their autonomous features than what Lucid has. And then obviously Uber needs a vehicle that they can deploy on their network, right? So they're already partnered up with Waymo. And so maybe it's a plausibility they have Waymos and then they own Lucids. But this is not where I really think things are going to go. I think there's going to be a couple of things that are going to happen. Ultimately, two or all three of these companies will become the same company. So Uber is going to end up buying Lucid, or Uber's going to buy the Nuro, or Lucid's going to buy Nuro. It's going to be one of these combinations. I guess Nuro could buy like Lucid or something like that, but I think Nuro is a startup company that I don't think they have much financial backing to be going and buying companies. If anybody is to buy anybody, I think it's the highest likelihood that Uber's to buy them all. Why do I think that? Because Uber has the bank account basically to back it up. Lucid, it's pretty much like a bankrupt company. I don't want to say a bankrupt company, but they've done a lot of hard work to get to where they're at. And also I mentioned before in some of my other videos that we actually built the welding fixtures for the Lucid Gravity second and third row seating. So if you're ever in a Lucid Gravity, that second and third row seating, our company basically built that seat frame structure for all the Lucid Gravities. So that's kind of a cool thing. It's what I love about what I do as a career in the automation field. but you know, they put in a lot of hard work, and they've built up a good team for being able to deploy programs and find suppliers and all that. So like, you know, they're working hard and they're hustling to make it work. So they've been, you know, they're a startup company, but they've been like continually losing money year over year. So I think they have like roughly like 1 year of funding. So like if they don't make any like true profit in like the next 1 year, which they're still not profitable on any of their vehicles or anything like that, after, you know, being in business for I don't even know how long, you know, 7 years plus, they're still like struggling. And so like that's not the biggest problem. That's a huge problem to have, you know, for any company. But the biggest problem is having Tesla as a competitor that is a vehicle manufacturer that has vehicles that have the ability to drive themselves. So as a total for the entire automotive market, essentially the entire automotive market is going to die. Once people start to understand that their vehicle can take them anywhere, you know, the FSD feature alone, in the current state that it's in, I will never buy another vehicle ever again, unless it has the capabilities that FSD has. I think it's going to take us to go next level, aka we have to go unsupervised for people to then say, oh shit, like that's badass. Like, I mean, it's already there, right? But I just think for people's perception to change, we need to start seeing more of those videos of people like just sleeping in their car, you know, and like making posts about, yep, yeah, I'm in Evansville, Indiana. Yep, got into the car yesterday evening in Evansville, Indiana, and woke up in Destin, Florida this morning. You know what I mean? So, they almost rear-ended back there. We almost rear-ended. Everybody almost rear-ended. Got a hard stop on the highway for some reason here. It's weird, pretty far back. Where was that? Oh yeah. But so like once people like start being able to like sleep in their cars, and they're telling their friends like, yeah, dude, I just freaking get in the car and I go to sleep and I wake up wherever I'm going. Or, you know, I get off work and I take a 30-minute nap on my way home. When I get home, I'm revitalized and ready to, you know, hang out with the family or whatever. Or freaking, or even funny stories of like, yeah, I left work and took a nap and got to my driveway and continued sleeping for an extra hour before I realized I was at home and it was time to wake up and get out the car. But not total economics. The mass population has to understand like how good FSD is. For them to truly adopt it and truly understand. Because there's still so many people that just think it's like a drive or a lane assist type of software. Like it's like some cool to have, nice to have, or like adaptive cruise control. If you've had a vehicle with adaptive cruise control, I think it's like to that level of FSD. But FSD's way beyond that. You know, it's way, way better than that. So, again, it's just going to take time for people to understand that. But after people start to understand that, we're going to get to a point where people are going to say, like, I'm going out and buying a Tesla. Well, I'm going to buy a Tesla because I can go to sleep in it. I can, you know what I mean? Whatever. I mean, people are going to start doing fun things. It keeps going back to, like, you're going to start seeing people doing fun things in their vehicle that you couldn't normally do. And once you can do those fun things that people couldn't normally do, and people start to become aware of that, that's whenever everybody starts to go out and say, that's the vehicle I'm buying. That's the vehicle I want to buy. It's the only vehicle I can buy that has this feature and that performs this well, even if all these other people are saying that they have some vehicle that can do comparable things. And just to point out like an example, like let's say for instance, like if Toyota and Waymo decide to partner on something, right? And they were going to actually sell an autonomous vehicle that you could buy. With Waymo's current setup and the way their hardware is, the vehicle would cost easily $100,000 for a base model vehicle. It'd be a base model vehicle with their with the autonomy features, because Waymo's autonomy package is like roughly $100,000 package, $80,000 package. That's just for the sensor hardware, and then you got to put that on a vehicle. So even if you put that on a $30,000, $35,000 like Toyota Corolla or something like that, you're still it's still going to be too expensive for most people to want to buy. If somebody has $100,000 to spend on a vehicle, at that point they probably would prefer get something nicer, right? Get them a Lexus, or get them a I don't know, what else, a Maserati or something. I don't know, I'm just throwing out random names. But they're going to want to buy a more expensive vehicle. They're going to buy a more luxury vehicle, not this base level, you know, vehicle with mechanical roll-up windows, but yet it's autonomous, you know. I mean, I don't think they would ever equip it on a vehicle like that. And there's a marketplace for being able to sell a $200,000 vehicle that is a luxury vehicle that is autonomous. I think that that's definitely a thing. I think we have a wreck over here. But the total addressable market for that is it's not very much. Total addressable market for somebody buying a $200,000 vehicle is like probably like less than $5,000 a quarter, $20,000 a year vehicles, if that, right? That's if that. So, you know, the next option that's there is like, say for instance, like Waymo and Tesla partnered, not Tesla, Toyota. Waymo and Toyota partnered in a way where they actually engineered the Waymo hardware into the Toyota, and Toyota actually manufactured the vehicle with the Waymo hardware equipped, you know, straight off the line. So the same way you have like I have a Toyota Camry, it's right in here in front of me, Toyota Camry SE. Okay, now let's say for instance they have a Toyota Camry ASE, standing for autonomous SE, right? And so the same way you would run like that SE down that line, and you'd run like I don't know what all the other packages are on a Toyota Camry, to be honest, but the same way you'd run different packages down the line with different seat types, different configurations, you would have a configuration for an autonomous vehicle. While I'm on this topic, this is the exact same thing that Lucid has to do as well. They have to have this advantage, because if you try to equip these hardwares after manufacturing, there's too much of a loss. I have to manufacture the vehicle, then I have to send it somewhere, then we have to remove these side panels and put these other side panels on, and you know, just the transportation alone, I mean, you added a couple $1,000s to each individual vehicle. So, and then you have the mechanical side of things of like having to physically, mechanically take off, you know, panels and put new panels on, and maybe even having to fabricate new panels that fit like the Waymo sensors or whatever, so that way they have like the mounting holes and everything that's required to do all of the you know, sensor mounting and everything like that. So no matter what, like the only companies that are gonna even closely be able to like compete and really have a future is by partnering with an automotive manufacturer, and the automotive manufacturer it's disengaged FSD, and the automotive manufacturer basically installing that hardware directly in line. Sorry, I'm like kind of distracted by what we got going on up here. I disengaged autopilot because we have construction up here, and I know the vehicle would go up there just fine and probably try to merge over, but I don't want to I don't want to kind of be a dick and pass all these people that are like already merged over to the left lane. Yeah. A lot of the disengagements that are actually still there in FSD are kind of just like some of them are just courtesy things. So I just re-engaged autopilot. So by the way, we're in the Cybertruck if you did not know, using version 13 FSD. But yeah, so I guess going back kind of to high level is we're going to see these acquisitions of these companies. Now, what might occur is either one of the two things will happen. Either like, Lucid and Uber will just directly merge and it'll just become a completely merged company, and or Uber will like outright buy Lucid. If I'm not mistaken, Uber has the money to buy Lucid. I don't think Lucid has the capability to buy Uber. Nor do I think it would be a good idea. I think Uber needs to buy Lucid for it to be successful, because Uber already understands like the ride sharing, and they've already had to navigate a lot of very interesting things to be able to get ride share to be a thing. I mean, if you think about it, what was it, 10 years ago, ride share wasn't even a thing. I mean, there's a huge thing like New York with like basically the unions, like the taxi union or whatever it is, like huge like regulation things they had to go through just to get rideshare available in certain areas. Now, some areas was just like completely wide open and there were no regulation on it or anything like that. But and there was like debates on whether you had to be like chauffeur license and all this stuff, because like at that point in time, I think you had to also have a chauffeur license to be a taxi driver. And so like they somehow got rid of like the whole chauffeur license thing. And yeah, I mean, this is a pretty big deal that they went through all these hurdles and all these steps. So I just think that they have the culture that's best fitting for they have the culture that's the best fitting for being able to make the robo-taxi. Oh my gosh. This person is from the wrong side of the road. It's funny. Talking about like FSD and stuff like that. So it's so funny, like whenever FSD or any autonomous vehicle does something funny, like this vehicle literally was like in the going on oncoming traffic. It's kind of funny seeing like humans do stuff like that. But I actually only have like 3 minutes left that I can shoot here. So I kind of got to wrap this thing up. So they culturally have what it takes, I think, to acquire Lucid, let Lucid be the manufacturer, let Lucid focus on equipping any sensor hardware natively to the vehicle that needs to be equipped to the vehicle, let that be engineered directly into the vehicle. The other thing is Lucid does have their Lucid Dream Cloud, or I can't remember the exact name of what Lucid's like FSD is called, but if they already internally have that, they might just kind of use Noro to like get along further with what they have. They might keep internally working on their FSD, and in the meantime partner with Noro, because Noro is like better or further along, and or Uber could have forced that partnership. They could have said, hey, look, Lucid, your FSD sucks. You're going to use Noro, but I'm going to tell you what we're going to do. We're going to buy 20,000 Lucid vehicles from you. So that's what we're gonna do. And Lucid's like, okay, you're gonna buy 20,000 vehicles, okay, because like 20,000 vehicles is like what they're already currently selling for an entire year anyway. So they have one company willing to buy their entire production numbers worth of vehicles for an entire year. But the funny thing is Uber's doing that over the course of 6 years. So that's another thing about this, is like this program or partnership lifespan is like way too long for where like robotaxi's already at. So because like robotaxi, in my opinion, given a very fair assessment, I think within 2 years you'll have Tesla unsupervised FSD in all cities. That's my projection. In 2 years, by the end of 2025, we are going to have vehicles in a few major cities. Obviously, we're already in Austin right now. We have probably LA or San Francisco or you know, maybe Miami or something like that. Some of these places coming. I think we'll get into like maybe like 2 to 3 bigger other big cities that are going to be still just like beta testing. They're not going to be like much further along with you know, where they need to be or anything like that. They'll be kind of just in that beta testing phase. But I have to take over. Let's try to go into the wrong parking lot. But so with them having like a 6-year, with Lucid and all them having a 6-year lifespan partnership, it's just like way too long. That by the time 6 years from now, not only will Tesla be deployed to all places in the United States, they'll probably be all over the globe. It'll probably function in everywhere except for India, because I don't know if they'll ever get it to work in India. The only way they'll get it to work in India if they can get more people, so many people using robotaxi that there's not people driving, but there's so much like moped and motorcycle drivers over there. They would have to, I think they would have to create like a special like pod vehicle to work over there in the meantime. There are regular vehicles and stuff, but it's a whole different market, whole different driving style. The driving culture over there is completely different. But yeah, let me know if you'd like to know more or discuss more on this you know, Lucid partnership. If you have any thoughts on like some of the different partnerships that might occur, or how you think some of the who would buy who, something like that, drop it down in the comments below. Subscribe if you stayed around to the end. We post other Tesla content like this, or other, you know, autonomous vehicle content, also business and entrepreneurial stuff. I'm actually jumping off of here and jumping into a title company to close on a property right now. So yeah, catch you on the next one. Peace.